There were 15 levels between me and my Dragonite status, and that just wouldn't do. So once again, I found myself at the head of the party, facing down some laughably weak foes. I won't go into the details of my slow ascent, but suffice it to say, I handled the Rocket Hideout, the Pokemon Tower, and the Silphco missions without need of assistance. It wasn't until right at the end of Silph that Electabuzz had to step up and support me. The runner had chosen Bulbasaur, which meant that Gary had his Gyarados, Charizard, and as always, Pidgeot. They all perished at the crackling fists of Electabuzz's Thunder Punch. I hate to admit it, but I needed the help. The same thing happened again in the 5th gym. I did well all the way up to the leader, and then his poison Pokemon simply refused to die, and his attacks bit into my stamina. Of all the battles I've fought since then, that one was the hardest. That gym's easy as pie if you're an Alakazam, but I simply couldn't handle it without Electabuzz. Speaking of Alakazam, I sensed the runner's apprehension as Chiding flew us back to Saffron City, where the Psychic Gym awaited us. I couldn't hold up to Gary's Alakazam, and this one was level 43. I was now level 50, but that didn't mean I was a match. Not yet. But then the runner did something that would assure my victory, and by extension his victory, for the entire rest of the journey. At the teleport that led to Sabrina's room, he suddenly force-fed me rare candies. I'd noticed him collecting them throughout our travels, but I never thought about actually eating the sickly sweet things. For those of you unfamiliar with the taste, the amount of sugar in just one rare candy would give an elephant diabetes. I had to swallow 5, and I was guzzling my own surf attacks for weeks after that. But it did the trick. All of a sudden, my body was twisting and contorting, I was growing arms and legs, and my once slim frame bulged out in a beer belly. If I ever discover the god who invented evolution, I'm going to burn all of his shrines to the ground. On the plus side, the sudden jump from Dragonair to Dragonite now made me understand and appreciate why I had been the object of such concentrated obsession from the beginning. I felt power surging through my limbs, such as I had not known since the brief time I had shared Azathoth's potency. I could take on the Elite Four right now by myself. I might not win, but I would certainly be a worthy opponent. As for this gym leader, Sabrina, there was no hope whatsoever that she could win now. To pound the coffin nail in further, the runner set to work on my attacks, replacing Waterfall with Brick Break, Secret Power with Fly, and Dragon Rage with the Dragon Claw TM that Electabuzz had been holding from the beginning. I had a brand new body and a brand new moveset. The battle with Sabrina was over in a minute. I don't think I killed any of her Pokemon. I tried not to anyway. After receiving the 6th Kanto badge, we took a brief detour to the power plant. Electabuzz told me that this was the place in which he had lost his freedom. He explained that, although Pikachu was easier to capture and make Raichu, his race was stronger than any Raichu, and so his power was coveted. We didn't encounter any wild Electabuzz, and in surprising earnestness, he told me that he wasn't sure how to feel. He was happy that the runner couldn't enslave another one, but also saddened at the prospect that his kin were down almost to Lapras' level of endangerment. From there, I swam the team to Cinnabar Island, where we explored a burned-out old mansion that supposedly once contained the legendary Mewtwo. Yes, I began this memoir claiming that I am the strongest in PokeMMO, and I hold to that, on the grounds that Mewtwo has no practical purpose for his strength. If being with trainers has taught me anything, it's that a Pokemon is only as strong as its usefulness allows for. I have long since resigned myself to the idea that I am an object, indeed no more of one than the key we came to this mansion to look for. Once we had gotten the key, I thought for sure that the runner would take me into the 7th gym. However, of all times, he chose now to make a return trip to Hoenn. I later figured that, having only gotten 5 Hoenn gym badges, he was at risk of losing my cooperation if he spent any longer in Kanto before coming back. I won't drag out the details of the last 3 Hoenn gyms. Considering all the events that happened in the middle, they took a while to get through, even with all the repels that the runner now used regularly. However, the result never changed. Nobody stood a chance against me. Not Winona's Altaria, not Maxie's Camerupt, not Lisa's Claydol, not Archie's Sharpedo, not even Juan's Kingdra. Sometimes I wondered if the runner was as bored as I was, since only I ever did any fighting. However, he seemed perfectly content to rake in the cash from trainer battles, and it certainly was a lot now. By the time we finally returned to Kanto, I was approaching level 70. If Kanto Pokemon had been no match for me before, they were downright pathetic ants now. From the 7th gym to the Cinnabar Islands, from the 8th gym to the end of Victory Road, my battles were all like Azathoth's before me. No enemy survived my first hit. They crumpled like cardboard. Even my peers, Electabuzz and Chick-fil-A, looked puny in my eyes. They knew it too, and they had long since stopped talking to me. I am lonely by nature, and I certainly felt lonely, but perhaps it was better this way. The two did not make good companions. They were too bitter and apathetic. Chick-fil-A's central role had long since passed, and all Electabuzz did was push boulders around with his strength. In fairness, once we reached the Indigo Plateau, he did assist in taking down one of Lance's Pokemon, but I handled the rest. The Elite Four were not as strong as they were when Azathoth had faced them in my Dratini days. To their credit, they still provided my first and only real challenge as a Dragonite, and for that I am grateful. I say that a Dragonite's purpose is to fight through the Pokemon League whenever necessary, for we do it more effectively than any other subpar Pokemon. Call me elitist, but if that's what it takes to keep me from being thrown away like my former companions, so be it. The runner still had a little more work for me after the Elite Four, although it was really just a couple of last-minute chores. We went through the rest of the Cinnabar Islands, collecting things he considered precious, like the Metal Coat and the King's Rock, and along the way I earned him at least 50,000 more in cash. He certainly was thorough at this point, as if he had spent his whole journey just to make it here. But eventually it came to an end, and there was nothing left to do. The runner went to a Pokemon Center and spent some time gazing greedily into all the possessions he had accumulated through the two-region trip. Suddenly, lo and behold, there was my old master, the one who had hatched me, striving into the Poke Center. And then, as if completely forsaking his greed, the runner began handing the master all of his stuff. It was the strangest thing I'd ever seen. Money, TMs, vitamins, high-quality potions, and things not available through normal means of purchase, all of these disappeared from the runner's bag and into the coffers of the master. Finally, he was left with nothing but pocket lint, a couple spare trinkets, and his remaining untradeable rare candies. Guess whose throat those were forced down? After that unpleasantness, the runner sent the master one last trade, in which Electabuzz and I were part. Chick-fil-A had his head turned to the side, but he watched us go out of the corner of his eye. I didn't say goodbye, because it wasn't like we were on good terms anyway, but I did still feel sorry for him, even now. And then we were leaving the Pokemon Center, while the runner just stood there by the PC. I never saw him again, but I'd like to think he died of cancer shortly after that. Azathoth happened to be in the Master's party, and he spoke to me from his Pokeball. "Welcome back," he said in a cordial tone, "and welcome to the ranks of the elite." I couldn't believe how much change I had gone through since I'd last seen him. I had been a Dratini then, and now I was almost his equal. "What's going to happen to me now?" I asked. "Most likely, the Master will sell you and Electabuzz both." Looking back, I shouldn't have been as surprised and outraged, but I still was. "What? You mean the Master still doesn't want me after all that work?" He laughed, and it was a soothing laugh that calmed my anger. "You're not pining for my spot now, are you, Yig? I assure you, for the right price, someone without a Dragonite will always want you. Take heart and consider it a compliment when I say that you are worth much." And so, here I find myself on the trainer's market, waiting for someone to call upon my help. Perhaps I am bound for great things, such as helping trainers catch Mewtwo. Then again, I may end up doing little more than flying and surfing someone around. Either way, humans can trust me to do my job well, but I trust no one. I've seen what they do and how callously they behave. I feel no true bond with any trainer, and so I am lonely by nature and by circumstance.